everybody, and welcome back to another series of Index Meet. Today I have Laila Al Yousuf, Design Director at Safe Studio. Welcome, Laila.
Hi, Lucy. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Let's get to know a bit more about you. So, Laila, it'd be great if you could tell us, how did you get into this industry?
Well, actually, I think I've always had a passion for it since I was a child. So I probably wasn't aware of it as a child. So I would often be drawing all the time. I loved anything that was sort of artistic, any kind of art. I'd rearrange my room all the time. I would parents to different restaurants and hotels and then rate them. So I had like a scale even from the time I was like probably 4 or 5 of rating places and environments that I was in. But all the while, no idea that that's what I was going to do with my life. And actually, I had a completely different career path. In high school, I was more into science. And then when I graduated from university, I actually went into sales for a bit. But I realized that my passion had to be within something that was more creative. And I needed to do it on a daily basis. So basically went back to school, studied interior design, and haven't looked back since.
Amazing. Love that story. And so then, while you've been doing this for your career, what's your most challenging project that you've done?
You know, we've been very, very lucky to have some amazing projects that we've worked on. And I think, although they have been challenging, they've been incredibly rewarding. We've had different challenges on projects in general, but the one that came to mind was a project that I worked on that was actually on this massive, massive scale. And it was a company headquarters, and the client was, there's several stakeholders within the team, but beyond that, it was also applying for LEED and WELL, so sustainability criteria. It was very, very stringent process to go through that whole application period. But I think one of the other big challenges was the timeline. So given the scale, there was also a very, very tight timeline, and we had sub-consultants from all over the world in different time zones. So I think it was just really the scale of the project that was particularly challenging. But every project has its challenges, and it's one of those things that you can really grasp a hold of and learn to appreciate. So we were lucky to have experienced it and made it stronger moving forward.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay. So what's your favorite piece of furniture in your home?
There's a lot of pieces I really, really love. The thing that comes to mind first, and maybe that's given the whole situation in the world right now, but I've got a beautiful, it's called Studio Desk by Bene, and it's actually it's where I sit, most of the day now, given the current situation. But it's been great. And so I think, especially given the fact that we focus mainly on corporate design, I was lucky enough to have, the monitor arm, the monitor, the proper desk, the proper task chair, printer, all set up in my house before any of this happened. And I've gotten sent so many pictures from clients and from other people within the industry who are working off of kitchen tables or sort of uncomfortable environments. But I'm just as comfortable here as I would be in the office, if not more comfortable. But yeah, it's a lovely, lovely piece that's part of Bene's catalog. And it's probably my favorite piece right now. Although I love everything in our house, but it's the most useful and my favorite piece right now.
Oh, I love Bene products, actually. I think they're fantastic. And I would certainly love to have a great setup, an ergonomically correct setup, which is what it sounds like you have.
Yeah, perfectly set up from the beginning.
Brilliant. So what inspires you?
Do you know, so many things, really. I mean, if I think about work-wise, there's things that within our industry, with every project that we work on, we always look for something that's different, like a different angle on the project of, to try to capture the design of the project. So really the smallest things have inspired us in the work that we do. But from a personal basis, honestly, passion and love are the things that I would say probably inspire me the most. I think everything comes from that source. So everything comes from your passion of what you do, and basically everything that you do in your life stems from that. And I think especially like even given now, a lot of the stories that I'm hearing about in the world, although it's kind of a dark time, you know, if you think about all of these stories, the most inspiring of which come from love and passion. So I would say that those are probably the biggest things, because I think that's like the fuel in that person's soul.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's certainly a lot of that going around at the moment, not just here, people helping hands, but around the world and doing everything they can to help each other, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been incredible. Some of the stories that I've heard about, I mean, even just with, you know, when all of this started with what was going on in Italy with the neighbors communicating across balconies. It's such
So
a simple
lovely.
thing. It's so beautiful, and it's nice to see the human emotions right now in a time where we are sort of isolating from each other. The human emotion is still the strongest.
Yeah, I really, really like that. So, I've got a bit of a fun question for you. If you could have a dinner party, who would your 3 dream guests?
Okay. Let's see. I would probably invite Oprah Winfrey as would be one of my guests.
Interesting.
Lucky enough to have her. She's just, if you've heard her story, the things that she's been through personally in her life, and everything that she's done to achieve where she is, I passion in life and her passion for what she does and her passion for people have, I think, really pushed her to be who she is. And she's just such a sweet and caring personality. And she's funny, so I would probably have her over. And I think I would probably also have Mother Teresa over as well. So, and all people probably. I think just because you know, one part of my life is really about humanitarian efforts. So I've been, you know, design is my big passion in life, but I'm also very, very interested in humanitarian efforts and how design can influence that. And that's what I've been a part of with Surge over the years now. So I think that she's inspired me in a lot of ways, given her just ultimate pure heart and care for people. And I think that would be, you know, lovely to have somebody like that. And then the third person is going to sound really strange, probably, but Queen Elizabeth I. I know that sounds really, really odd. And the 3 of them would probably be a very, very strange group of people to have over, but all women. And I think with Queen Elizabeth I, probably just because, again, just a really strong female character in a time, you know, there wasn't an understanding of that. You didn't really have those characters. They couldn't be vocal. They couldn't, you know, step up and be all the things that today that we tell all the women in our lives. You can be whatever you want to be. These were pioneers. These 3 women were pioneers of that kind of mantra, that philosophy that you can do anything, even as a woman. You can be anything. You can achieve anything. Woman or man, anybody could. And that passion for life and achieving their dreams and goals, really, I think would be wonderful to have in my house.
That would be a very interesting dinner party. I'd love to be a fly on the wall there. 3 very empowering women. And again, I suppose that ties back to your inspiring of passion and love, because all 3 of those women certainly have that.
I think even just, like I said, even just the idea of strong women and strong personalities as well.
Yeah.
And achieving your dreams.
Really nice. So what would you cook them?
I actually enjoy cooking, but I would for these women for sure. So I would get on my phone and order Deliveroo probably, and have a nice meal that was prepared by someone else, where I wouldn't worry about what they were thinking about the food.
And equally, you would probably want to spend all the time talking to them and getting to know their history and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very sensible. I like it. So the final question, and it's really, what does interior design mean to you?
You know, if I think about that little girl who, you know, was sort of thinking about interior design as a child and not really understanding what that career was and what that path was, even from a young age. If I think about what it meant to me then and what it means to me today, I think to some degree I was aware even then as a child that interior design influences your psychology, your physiology. So people are influenced by the environment that they're in. So whether you're outside in nature and you're around nature and inspired by all of the things there, we're mostly indoors. So how do you bring those kind of elements into an interior design space? How do you capture that kind of philosophy within the interior? How do you shape how people feel within an interior? So for me, it's there's actually a lot of responsibility in interior design. I have an absolute passion for it, but I also recognize the amount of responsibility that goes with it. That you have an active part, you have an active role in how people are feeling within an environment. So I actually think that it's it's something that people need to be aware of, for sure.
Yeah, I really like that, and I agree with you. I always think the interior of a room makes you feel happy if it's beautifully done and it's bright colors and it's what you're.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, color psychology is a huge part.
Mm.
I'm not sure how much people realize about it, but yeah, choice of colors, how that influences how you feel, how colors get chosen from one space to another, and how that can change your entire environment. I mean, it's kind of funny actually, because when I first met my husband on our first date, and I told him what I did for a living, and I think people don't really understand a lot of times what that means and what interior design is. And I told him that we mainly focus on office spaces, corporate environments. And he was coming from an interior, like an office environment that maybe didn't have a lot of those philosophies. And it wasn't until he changed companies and there was a completely different design within that new office space that he actually. It wasn't until then, funnily, it wasn't like when we knew each other and when he got to know me, but when he had moved over to that other space, that he said to me, I didn't really realize until I started actively having to live in a new environment that really changed how I felt about a space. And that impacts on how it makes somebody feel.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely in the workplace. I mean, they always say that the most important part of the workplace is the workforce. And if you've got a happy workforce because of a happy environment, then winners win.
There's a lot of talk right now with what's going on in the world about, are we returning to the office, or are we going to stay in our current environments working from home? Is there a need to return to the office? And actually, there's so much more about that. Yes, we're all working from home, and there's benefits. There's benefits to the environment. There's benefits to a lot of different factors. For example, even just having time to do your own personal things, not having to have that commute. But there's I think that one of the other things that people need to appreciate and recognize is that an office is an environment to bring people together. Mm-hmm. So when you have the people around you, that's also changing and shaping how you're feeling every day. So for me, that's one of the things that I miss most, is actually just having my colleagues around me just to share stories with, and all of that, all of that is brought together by this environment. That's why I say interior design is such a huge responsibility to really add to people's life.
I really, really agree with you, and I think your thoughts are great. Well, it was really lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time today and telling us more about your past and who you would love to have your dinner with. Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you, Lucy. Speak to you later.
Bye.